Let's begin this discussion with MS Now's Alex Tabbitt in Springfield, Ohio, the Reverend Carl Ruby, who ministers to the Haitian community that is there. And also with us is MS Now contributor Paula Ramos, who's done extensive coverage of the situation at the U.S.-Mexico border and on all immigration issues across this country. Alex, I'm going to start with you, just in case anybody forgot the racist things President Trump and others around him have said about Haitian migrants living in Springfield during the campaign. I have a reminder.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
Alex, these are members of the community, doctors, healthcare workers, engineers, people who tried to do everything right in their process of resettling in the United States. How is the community handling this news and the fact that it may feel like the rug could be pulled out from under them at any moment?
Well, Antonia, there's fear here, there's nervousness, there's uncertainty about exactly what comes next. It's a lot of the same emotions that we've been hearing in cities like Minneapolis during the ICE raids there. And a lot of the Haitian immigrants with TPS who we've been speaking to say that they were expecting this sort of rhetoric from President Trump. He has never hidden the way that he feels about this community, but they were surprised by the Supreme Court's ruling yesterday. I want you to hear from one Haitian with TPS, Villis Dorsenville. He's a community leader here, about how he was blindsided by yesterday's decision.
It seems that I was greatly mistaken to see how folks who would keep the president accountable, how they side with him on everything that he says or everything that he does, which means there is no check and balance. The president has that freeway in front of him to do whatever he wants to do, unfortunately, and most of the time to a minority group of people.
Antonia, yesterday we spent most of the day in Little Haiti in South Florida. Today we are in Springfield, Ohio, home to about 10,000 Haitians with TPS. And these are communities in hiding right now. These are people who are sheltering in place, afraid of what Stephen Miller just said. And I asked Villis, you're not in hiding. You're not afraid. You're speaking to me on camera right now. Why? And he says, you hide when you do something wrong. I have done nothing wrong. I am not illegal. I have been made illegal by this administration. Antonia?
Wow, that's an incredibly striking quote, Alex. Reverend, I want your reaction to what you just heard there. I know you work incredibly closely with the Haitian community as well, and so I know that you know many of these stories. But I also am wondering if you can spell out the stakes here. Justice Sonia Sotomayor said in her dissent, more people will die. The State Department tells Americans they shouldn't go to Haiti because of how dangerous conditions there are on the ground. And then you have Stephen Miller saying, well, it's fine for Haitians. They can go back.
Yeah, I was sitting with Villis yesterday when the news of the court decision came in. There were other Haitians in the room. Several began weeping. I was shocked. I anticipated, especially in light of the dig motion that was filed a week ago, showing that the State Department initially advised extending TPS and showing that the State Department told Homeland Security it's not safe. I thought the court would somehow take that into account. And I was shocked and extremely disappointed that they didn't.
What did you make, Reverend, of the fact that the court also basically sent the signal that they don't care about the history of racial remarks that this administration has made about Haitians, not just the president, the vice president, former Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem? I mean, there was a mountain of evidence, according to attorneys and experts who had been following this case, and it just didn't appear then to be relevant.
I feel betrayed by my country. And for the first for the first time in my life, I'm ashamed of things that are currently unfolding. And, you know, I'm a hopeful person. I'm a person of faith. I believe in the gospel. I believe that we're in a story that ends well. But the Bible also teaches us it's a story where we suffer and where we have to be faithful and where leaders will disappoint us. And if you read the prophets of the Old Testament, one of the main things that they confronted was injustice leveled at immigrants. So you can't read the Bible, you can't read the words of Christ without knowing that we have a commitment to stand with our Haitian brothers and sisters in Christ right now, even though our government hasn't.
Paula, Trump has been bragging about this on Truth Social. And then there are others in the sort of right-wing, you know, ecosystem who have been reacting. I want to play some of what Megyn Kelly recently said about all of this.
You're not an American citizen, so get out. Go home. Get out. We know our country's better than yours. That's because we filled it with our work ethic and our culture and our values. You being here only dilutes it for us, those who built it and live it. And half of you people, more than half, you won't assimilate. We don't want you. We don't care if you're offended. Get out. Go home. Go back to Haiti.
Paula, what do those words represent to you?
Look, I know it's hard to hear that out loud, but I think it is important for us to remind ourselves that that exactly is the image and the sentiment that mobilizes MAGA. You know, we saw the Vice President Kamala Harris laugh when Donald Trump was making those remarks about Black Haitians eating pets. It may sound ridiculous to us, but that is exactly the image, you know, the type of disgust, the type of resentment, the type of fear that Donald Trump wanted to instigate among his masses. And it's not a joke for them. It is precisely grounded in what they believe is their moral fight. You know, their moral fight to ensure that this country does not become something that they're not comfortable with. You know, at the core of MAGA is this fear of cultural replacement. And so let's believe them when they say that, when Megyn Kelly says that. Like you said, Antonio, like Stephen Miller is someone that is at the heart of all of this. Stephen Miller for years has been telling us that he does not believe that immigrants and the children of immigrants, including the US-born children of immigrants, can assimilate in this country. Donald Trump is someone that is completely obsessed with genes, good genes, bad genes. He's someone that has faced white crowds and has told them to their face, you have good genes. In 2018, Donald Trump told us that countries like Haiti, for him, are, I have to say it, shithole countries. And then years after, he said the very same thing again. And so I think when the Reverend says something that I think we all feel, you know, which is that we feel that this country is betraying us, and there is something about that split screen image that we cannot recognize for a second. You know, this idea that on the one hand, you have an administration that is revoking the protection of Haitians and Syrians, essentially completely dissolving the legal right to seek asylum in this country, which is a legal right inscribed in international law and in the United States. And on the other hand, you have an administration that is in the midst of enacting the largest mass deportations in American history, while at the same time allowing white refugees from South Africa to enter. And that image right there is, I believe, what sort of we cannot fathom and find completely unrecognizable when we are weeks away from the 4th of July.
Reverend, many of these same people, they tell us on their podcasts, on their shows, on Truth Social, that they are Christians, that America is a Christian nation, that they are the foremost representatives, essentially, of the moral fabric of this country. When you hear what Megyn Kelly said, is any part of what you heard there Christian?
No. I don't know what they represent, but they don't represent Christ at all. And the parable of the Good Samaritan teaches that. How we treat immigrants is so important that it shows up in the 10 Commandments and in Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. And Jesus said that one mark of being a righteous person who's a follower of Christ is that we love and care for strangers. And the word stranger is the Greek word for foreigner. In Matthew 25, Jesus said that caring for foreigners is like caring for him. And it's a mark of people who are going to inherit the kingdom of heaven. And he goes on to say that those who don't will not inherit the kingdom of heaven.
Reverend Carl Ruby, Alex Tabbitt, Paula Ramos, it's always good to see you guys. Thank you for your time.